Welcome to my YouTube channel. Now, today is October 26, 2024. We're live and direct here on the West Coast. And it's 9 a.m. on the West Coast, noon on the East Coast. And we got a lot to cover today. We're going with Project 2024, the part 4, as well as Trump's Black Plan for Black America. And we're also going to be talking about the New Deal. I wouldn't say, we're seeking a New Deal, but I would want us to talk about who's in and who's out with Trump cabinet members, because comedian D.L. Hughley has somehow has the nerve to talk of black men, okay, his brothers, in a negative way, because Byron Donald and Tim Scott did not get selected to Trump's cabinet. But these two individuals are United States senators. They have to do. Okay, so we all are working together to make sure that we get to the next level in life, and let's have a good time. And then when we have the conversations, the chat is up. Jump in that chat, question, comment, or concern. Keep it light, keep it respectful. Understand the trolls got to do their job. They're a democracy, and the Democrats got to come over here and be mad at the newly freed slaves. And I say the Democrats got to come over here and be mad at the newly freed slaves. What I'm saying is, we're a nonpartisan independence, and we have probably one of the strongest coalitions in American history. Our coalition is standing 13.6 million strong, because is what it is, and we'll talk about that down the road. But we got to have these conversations because Trump does have a black plan. And I'm going to let a few people jump on. We go there. Trump does have a black plan. And we're going to be working directly with the Trump administration. And I got to be honest with you, for the first time in my lifetime, and the first time in American history, that there a branch of government or a governing that's outside of the two-party system. And now we can understand, what oversight, what accountability mean. President Trump put out campaign promises, and as a black man, good morning to you. As a black man, we're going to basically fight for the equity in our community. Okay, the community that I'm in. I don't know any MAGA Republicans. I don't know. All I know is liberals and the people of color and things like that. But moving forward, we got a whole presidency, okay, because we elected the first black president when it came to Barack Hussein Obama. And after his 8 years, he pretty much said a speech like, we got a lot more work to do, but you was in office for the last 8. What did you do other than change the gender of our children? Okay. And it is what it is. The first president in American history to fly the rainbow flag. It is what it is. So maybe, just maybe, that was his purpose and his intent to do. He did, because what happened, now that we are moving forward into a new threshold, you can't go back and say that they wasn't championed. You can't go back and say that you can't marry or love from the love. But now we got to get back to business, because when Harris talks about, and I'm speaking on Kamala Harris, when she talks about we're not going back, we're going to page, when she says that, the page said the end. So now back at the front of the book, and part of Project 2025, and what Trump said, okay, as a campaign, when he was elected, or he's a president elect, the first thing he's going to do is sign an executive action to just recognize male and female, and it's at birth. Okay, and one of the Project 2025 mandates is to ban born males from competing in female sports. So we're on number 4. So if you've been, late to the party, if you're just chiming in, you could go to, the channel, A Better Black America, at number 1, 2, 3, and this is 4, because one of the mandates in term Project 2025 is to ban biological males from competing in women's sports. That's one of them. Okay. And I'm waiting on my book, because when I talk to Democrats, they make it seem as though that there's some special secret mandate or something that's going to tear down and destroy America. But when I read the talking points, maybe They're hiding it somewhere. But when I see it, it is what it is, because Project 2025 is a historic movement brought together by over 100 respected organizations across the conservative movement to take down the deep state. And mission accomplished, because the deep state was taken down at an epic portion when it comes to the presidential election. And that's just me being honest and transparent, because, when you have a president that win the electoral college the way they did, and then you have him win the popular vote the way that he did, it is what it is. And I'm with you on 60 Seconds Free Palestine. And I'm with you. And the Palestinians stood down on the Democratic Party. And I'm just keeping it 100. Rashida Tlaib is an American Palestinian elected official. And the Palestinian organization stayed at home. They either voted for Trump or they did not show up at the polls at all. And it is what it is. And they have joined the coalition fighters of human beings that's going to make sure that America is who she's supposed to be. And we're going to hold our elected officials accountable. And for the first time in our lifetime, we can pretty much press President-elect Trump to make sure he keep all the promises that he pretty promised on the campaign trail. And we're going to get into that in this live stream here on a Better Black America TV. And I appreciate you. So hit the like. It don't cost me. It helps the algorithm. Hit the notification. So when I do my uploaded videos that I do and hard work to edit them, you guys can actually be notified that they're out. You can actually watch. So when you chime into the live stream, you'll know exactly what's going on. So now the Project 25 is a mandate for leadership that could have promised. That's the book. And I would ask if you pretty much order the book, and we could talk about it and we'll break it down. But for the most part, we're going to stick to the bullet points. The book was published in April of 2023, is a product of more than 400 scholars and policy experts from around the country. Now, the book offers a menu of policy suggestions. Okay. Now, for anything to pass, for you individuals who listen to a lot of liberal stations and the scare tactics and Project 25 is going to take this and take that. Okay. Nothing could happen in America without an act of Congress. You got the House, okay, Congress, and then you have the Supreme Court. So this is not a dictatorship. This is a constitutional republic. And Benjamin Franklin said, if we keep it, and we almost lost it by electing Harris as president, but since she lost, we're going to keep it and make sure America becomes supposed to be. And the Democratic Party is over. And on Inauguration Day, there's no coming back. And this is why, a lot of individuals who were supporting the party, support Harris, these comedians, and I'll get into that a little later in the stream, pretty much are falling by the wayside because they put their credibility on the line to punch, try to get people to vote for a presidential candidate who clearly is not worthy of running this country. And it had nothing to do with misogyny. It had everything to do with the economy, inflation, and immigration. Okay. Based on the exit polls. Okay. So the book was, its Mandate for Leadership, The Conservative Promise, published in April of 3 as a product of more than 400 scholars and policy experts from around the country. Now, the book offers a menu of suggestions to meet our country's deepest challenges and put America back on track. And this is some of the mandates, including secure, number one of the bullet point, secure the border, finish building the wall, and deport illegal immigrants. And everybody is on board with that. Nobody have an issue with it. Okay. But the Democrats are scrambling because in these sanctuary cities, in these liberal cities where they pretty much, warrant and to bring in illegal immigrants, now they're trying to save face because the Czech are concerned about, them being an elected official. So now they're fighting for their career. So you're going to see a lot of strange things, and a lot of Democrats is doing things outside of the box, through fear, intimidation, and trying to hoodwink and bamboozle the American people to believing that, they knew what they're talking about or knew what they were doing, but they're literally a part of the anti-American movement. And more importantly, the Antichrist. And I'm going to keep, and it is what it is. Number 2 bullet point, de-weaponize the federal government by increasing accountability and oversight of the FBI and DOJ. We have to do this. If you did not know, Ben Crump, who was the George Floyd lawyer, is lead attorney for the Malcolm X's daughters. And they're suing the FBI and DOJ literally suing the government for $100 million for the assassination of their father, Malcolm X. Okay. Now, if they settle, but this is going to be a landmark case because if the government loses the case, then that opens the door, for all the other arguments and class action lawsuits, and reparations is actually one of them. Okay. Number three, American energy production to reduce energy prices. They want energy prices. We need relief at the pump. We need release on heating, our AC, electricity, the whole nine. Nobody has a problem with that. Number four, cut the growth of government spending and reduce inflation. Everybody's on board with reducing inflation. Everyone is on board with that. Number five, make federal bureaucrats more accountable to the democratically elected president and Congress, meaning we should not have a parliament where an elected official will waste taxpayer dollars to have comedy, in the walls of Congress. The name calling, all the disrespect. We need to work together. And this is why they have to be, a coalition of organized people outside of the Republican and the Democratic Party to hold our elected officials accountable, because somehow, some way they think that we support madness and that nonsense, and clearly we don't support that madness and that all of that, that throwing things going viral on the internet. You got black congresswomen talking about white blondes, bleach blondes, and it's going back and forth. So we need to just stand together in solidarity and make sure we do what we need to do now. And the number six, improve education. Who has a problem with improving America's education? Who has a problem with that? I don't think nobody have a problem with that. And then number seven, ban biological males from competing in women's sports. I'm all on board with that. It is what it is. So, and I'm sure a lot of you saw the click or the title, Project 2025. We're going to dive deeper into that. But I also put in Trump's Black Plan for Black America. How many of you in the chat right now? And if you are in the chat, go ahead and put, what city you're from, what country you're from, so we'll know what we're dealing with. And, let us have a conversation. And how many of you believe that Trump has a Black Plan for Black America? Because I'm going to go ahead and tell you, anything that's, earmarked for the Black community is earmarked for everybody. Because I've had, cohesive conversations with, individuals and think tanks and things like that. And my constituents or counterparts, they pretty much, it's a class issue. Okay. And anytime that I was in a situation or in a room with some Caucasians or some whites, talking class, for me, it was about race. And by default, their class put us in the same class. But for us to thrive and move on as human beings, we got to step our game up, because we're literally representing the class and the middle class. And what up to you in Central Arizona? Appreciate you. So we got to have these conversations. So when I say Trump has a Black plan, as a Black American, as a member of society, a taxpayer, as a individual who has an organization called A Better Black America, my job is to make sure that the equities, and that slice of the pie get to communities of color or people that look just like me. Okay. And by default, there's a clash issue with white Americans, okay, who happen to live in the neighborhood color, who've bought homes in, Black neighborhoods. The gentrification did not change fast enough. So by default, you're our neighbors. Anything that rocks, anything that we do on the come up, you will rise with the tide as well. So that's why it can't be a Republican or a Democratic thing. It has to be an American or a humanitarian thing. So we got to do what we got to do, and we got to figure this thing out. So this is how we're going to make sure we do what we do. So when I say Trump has a Black plan, in terms of Black America, is the working class and the middle class. That's all I'm referring to. But we want our equity in the communities of color, the communities that we represent, so we can start recycling our own dollars, and we don't have to leave the community to get healthy food, the community to do our banking, the community to go to the mall and shopping, the community to go sit outside and have, a nice breakfast or lunch at an eatery. Okay. We want our community to thrive just like any other community in America that's thriving, that's recycling their dollars. We don't like crime. We don't like poverty. We don't like poor schools or anything like that. And for the first time in American history, you are seeing you are seeing that black men, the black race has stepped up and has taken black back. Okay. Because the joke is on the African American. Okay. Because all the liberal groups, these left wing, the ACLU and all these organizations, they, went with the declassification of the black race to an ethnicity in these. But somehow, some way, it's the bait and switch. Now, the joke actually was on y'all. He who laughed last laughs best. Okay, you fool us, once, second time, shame. First time, shame on you. Second time, shame on me. This time around, and this election showed that it's shame on you, because I found the numbers, and a lot of individuals really do not know how Trump destroyed Harris. Okay, Trump got more percentage from 12 to 15% from the black vote than any Republican president in American history. And the one that came close was Reagan, and it was at like 8%. Trump got 16%. That's astonishing. And then you turn around and see that 10 million registered Democrats decided not to show up at the polls. That's a protest. Okay. And to keep it simple, you look at these liberal news medias and they'll sit back and say, well, it wasn't the blacks, it was the Latinos and all that. They're saying that because they don't want to admit the power of the black community, the power of black men. So we come from an era where if we, our parents taught us and our grandparents taught us, if you don't have nothing good to say, don't say nothing at all. So when I did my, poll, and I listened to individuals and I asked them, did you vote? No. Okay. So and then I went to the numbers, and 10 million registered Democrats did not vote. And I'm making it simple because in 2020, the black man, stood behind the Biden administration. The Congressional Black Caucus came out, Clyburn, and the senator from South Carolina, we know Joe and Joe know us, and the fraternities, the alphas, the Q dogs, the sigmas, all of them were in support of Joe Biden. The entire Divine Nine got behind the Biden, and the Congressional Black Caucus got behind Biden. The NAACP got behind Biden. The Urban League got behind Biden. The Black Lives Matter is clearly behind Biden. Okay. So this time around, when you look at the numbers of Democrats that showed up at the polls, there's a 10 million difference. So 10 million less Democrats showed up at the polls this 2024 election. 10 million differential. So when you have 10 million registered Democrats make a decision to not show up at the polls, that's power. Okay. That's a protest. In American history, that's going to go down like, that was our Rosa Parks moment, because it's actually ended their democracy. The Democratic Party can't, reinvent themselves. Okay. Because a phenomenon has happened, and it's called the information superhighway, and that's the internet. Okay. We can communicate. Okay. We can have our conversations. We can take a deep dive like we're doing today and look at the data and have conversations of what's really going on. So the Democratic Party literally is over. Okay. And you're going to have more nonpartisan independents go in for senators and Congress members, like Bernie Sanders is an independent. And you're going to have independents going there because they're going to embrace the new world order here in America. They're going to embrace the New Deal, because I aforementioned that 10 million registered Democrats did not show up at the polls who showed up in 2020 in support of Sleepy Joe. 3.6 million registered Democrats, you ready for this? Voted down ballot, meaning they voted for anything other than the Harris or Trump. They voted for the Peace and Freedom Party, the Libertarian Party, the Green Party. Jill Stein got 1.6 million votes. Jill Stein, the Green Party. The Libertarian Party got 800,000 votes. And RFK, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., they left him a ballot. In California, he got over 600,000 votes. So if you are a registered Democrat and you did not vote democratically, that's what we call a protest. Now, 7 states did not allow the write-in. Okay. So the states that did allow the write-ins, 1.6 million people wrote in a presidential candidate. 1.6 million people wrote in a presidential candidate. And the 3 leading candidates that, got the write-in in those states that allowed write-ins. Okay. Those who know me, I was with the coalition with the Jesus Christ campaign. So we wrote in our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ came in first place. Second place in the write-in candidates nationwide was Mickey Mouse. Mickey Mouse came in second place. From registered Democrats. And this is the key right here. Okay. And this information that, you're going to hear on your major networks, because they have to do the research and take deep dives and get the information from the very smart and brilliant people to put on their, to write their scripts. Okay. And the number third, the third candidate for the writing candidate nationwide. Are you ready for this? D's Nut. And you can actually look that up. Okay. And it's what we call freedom. When individuals make an educated decision that they're not going to support either side, because as a registered Democrat, I'm not going to join the Republican Party. Okay. I'm not going to join the Republican Party, because when I look at my Bible, it talks about scribes and Pharisees. Scribes and Pharisees are literally, the scribes are your media, your TV, Hollywood, your liberals, your Democrats. And the Pharisees, according to the Bible, are your hypocritical religious leaders. Okay. They talk a good game, they walk a good game, but inside, we don't know what's going on. So we got to understand that. So now independence is the way. And this was the first time in terms of, registering voters that at their 18th birthday, 46% of individuals who registered first time registered as a nonpartisan independent. And it's no party preference. And it's there. It's there on the ballot. It's right there in your face. And they say if you want somebody to miss it, put it in a book, put it in writing, they'll miss it every time. But 46% of our children pretty much registered as no party preference, because America is a constitutional republic. Okay. It's not a democracy. The Democratic Party, their democracy is the party of slavery, the party of Jim Crow, the party of mass incarceration, the party of slavery, the party of Jim Crow, which is segregation in the South. Okay. It was no Republicans down there. The Southern strategy had everything to do with the Confederacy and the Dixiecrats. So let's be honest with that. Let's correct that. And the party of mass incarceration. And when I say this, Bill Clinton signed the 3 Strikes and You Out bill, which created the era of mass incarceration. And if you don't read books, then go ahead and Netflix and go ahead and watch The 13th by Eva. Okay. And you will see exactly what I'm talking about. Biden wrote the bill. And this is why, they would say vote for the lesser of the 2 evils. Okay. Because Sleepy Joe is somebody that's been commingling in the black community or dealing with the oppressed people his whole career. But come to find out, he's a part of the oppression party. And this is why he was pretty much happy that Harris didn't win. Okay. So let's be honest with Biden wrote the bill. Okay. Joe Biden pushed the mass incarceration bill in the Senate, and it passed 94-6, and 6 Republicans voted against it. Okay. And that's what started the era of incarceration. Hillary Clinton, the wife of Bill Clinton, went on tour and pretty much sold that bill. And you can look it up, Google or whatever search engine you use, Hillary Clinton super predators. And you could go ahead and watch the video, because young Hillary Clinton, sold that crime bill as the wife, the first lady, not an elected official, the first lady of the president, out there and, These are not regular humans. These are super predators that need to be brought to heel like dogs. That's exactly what end of quote. Okay. So this is why God's people should not perish due to the lack of knowledge. And this how, we've been hoodwinked, bamboozled, led astray, and running amok all of this time. And now for the first time in our lifetime, we have detached ourselves from the party of slavery, the party of Jim Crow, the party of mass incarceration. Now we can operate as human beings because the Constitution says we the people. So now we people have power, and we have one of the the strongest coalition in American history because of the 13.6 million registered Democrats that decided to not support the Democratic Party. So we got a coalition of 13.6 million people as nonpartisan independents. So now we get a chance to see how this American thing works. So now we can have oversight for a sitting president. Now we can hold a sitting president accountable. And this is why I'm going to transition to Trump's black plan. Okay. Trump has a black plan according to Black America. Okay. And I represent Black America as a nonpartisan independent. I represent humanity, human beings, Black and humans. Okay. And Black is an acronym for Black, Latin, Asian, Caucasian, meaning when the Black community steps its game up. And community typically rules, the working class, which leads to middle class. Okay. We don't represent the wealthy. All our celebrities that were billionaires are somehow suspect now. Because if you look at what's going on, it's a day of reckoning for, individuals who are fraudulent, who we thought, had our best interests at hand, but clearly looking out for their personal selves. And they was willing to do anything with anybody to pretty much put themselves in that position. So now that they're, political prisoners, okay, P. Diddy comes is a political prisoner, and then who else he's going to take down with him? Because he's not going to the ship doesn't just sink by itself. The Titanic sink, a lot of people survived. Okay. But pretty much the majority of the people are going to be exposed. And then the Trump administration, along with this Project 2025, is to take down the deep state. So they're going to be prosecuting people of power. So this is why you look at the news right now and, the DOJ is dropping Trump's case. Fonse's, case in Georgia has been, on indefinitely. Letitia James's case and all of that, because it's kind of like, they like to step out and get people who are, living from an emotional perspective, to make you think something, just give you something to feel good. And then when it doesn't happen, it leaves you out there looking stupid. Okay. Because I remember, they're going to lock him up. They're going to do this. They're going to do that. And come to find out, Donald J. Trump is in the United States, president-elect, and won the electoral college by a record margin and actually won the popular vote as well. I mean, who would have thought he was supposed to be locked up? Okay. So now the tides are turning and they're going to, handle their business. So you can understand why he's picking the cabinet that he's picking, because they're going to, like I said, all I'm saying is to you Democrats and to Black Americans, leave that party alone. Okay. Don't be listening to no comedians. Don't be listening to these actors who's getting paid. Don't listen to Oprah, who got $3 million, Beyonce, J-Lo. J-Lo warned us about Trump, but why J-Lo didn't warn you about P. Diddy? Think about that. Think about that. So Project 2025, waiting on the book, but in terms of the bullet points, I'm going to go ahead and, because a few people put it in the chat, I'm going to read off the 7 bullet points and then I'm going to jump into Trump's cabinet. So Project 2025, first mandate, secure the southern border, finish building wall and deport illegal aliens. Number 2, de-weaponize the federal government by increasing accountability and oversight of the FBI and DOJ. Number 3, unleash American energy production to reduce energy prices as long as gas prices. Number 4, cut the growth of government spending and reduce inflation. Number 5, make federal bureaucrats more accountable to the democratically elected president and Congress. Number 6, improve education by moving control and funding of education from DC bureaucrats directly to the parents and the state and local governments. And I do support first school choice. And number 7, ban biological males from competing in women's sports. And nobody has a problem with that. It is what it is. So now we're going to transition to Trump's, and before we move on, the reason why they pretty much talked about Project 2025 so much is because they had a Project 2021, okay, the blueprint for a better deal for Black America. They literally stole that from me, and I'm so glad it failed, okay, because when you steal, ideas, it before, but they stole that from me. And it's from the National Center for Public Policy Research, Project 2021. And you see that behind me. Okay, Project 2021. You see that behind me. A better deal for Black America. And then it says right here, the blueprint for a better deal for Black America. Now you see why, they jumped on the other side and they went so hard against Project 2025 because they tried at a failed Project 2021 and they actually stole it from me. Okay. Because like I said, we're a better Black America. Okay. And I'm looking at the PDF right now, blueprint for a better deal for Black America. Okay. And their number one thing on that, on their, on their PDF, promoting K through 12 education choice. So they supported school choice. Okay, education is considered the key to upward mobility, yet many Black students remain trapped in failing schools. So they tried to do the thing, but they're mad that the group that actually did the Harris Foundation has a stronger coalition, and they're conservatives because this thing is as a consequence, and I'm reading off their PDF, Black students falling behind in American and academic achievement. And that's because we embrace what we call democracy. Okay, we embrace your democracy, and it is. This is off of their PDF. Established a federal needs-based education voucher program. So they wanted school vouchers. Okay, established tax credit scholarships. Okay, funding the effort in part of reducing federal funding for schools failing to meet the minimum standards. I could go on and on, but was a failed effort and a failed attempt. And this is why, went so hard against Project 2025 because they had a Project 2021. And I'm reading it directly. Blacks deserve a better deal in employment policy. Project 21 recommends, abolishing the Jim Crow era Bacon Act. So clearly they want to abolish what they've created. So this is how, when they talk about the Republicans switched and all of that, listen, how you going to be with the party of slavery and then try to end their policies? So this is why, it was a failed attempt. And for me, for them to pretty much call it a blueprint for a better deal for Black America. And then at the same time, the Biden administration build back better. And I've been doing a better Black America since 2016, so like I said, God don't like ugly. It is what it is. So I'm going to go ahead and transition to the Trump cabinet members. And if you are on and you want to hear, get more information and insight about Project 2025, okay, hit the notification. I ordered the book. It's in the mail. It's on its way. It didn't come in today. I checked. And we're going to take a deep dive because the talking points are actually not bad at all. I don't really have a problem with, too much of what he's saying. And it is what it is. So Trump cabinet members, who's in, who's out. Okay, here's a full list of Trump cabinet members. And it's starting. Let me see here. I like that one. Let me go ahead. Yeah, I like this one right here. Okay, because I want pictures so you can actually see what I'm talking about. Because seeing is believing. Seeing is believing. And Trump cabinet picks. And then I'm going to talk about the comedian D.L. Hughley, because there was a few brothers left off of a Trump cabinet, that's pretty much elected officials. But you have a comedian, disrespecting his own brother because, he pretty much took the bait and bought into the Harris campaign and pretty much endorsed Kamala Harris. And now they don't have any get back on that. So let me see here. Meet Donald Trump's near elite cabinet. Okay. And I do believe he did complete it. But the one that I'm going to talk about is the one on Newsweek. And so basically, your Secretary of State has to get confirmed. Okay. And your Secretary of State will be Marco Rubio. Okay, so when you talk about DE equity and inclusion, Marco Rubio is Latino. Marco Rubio is Latino. So when people say, they're racist and all that, that is a bald-faced lie. Rubio is a senator, one highly critical of Trump and ran against him in 2016 GOP primary. Now, in a statement, Trump described Rubio as a fearless warrior who will never back down on our adversities. And what it is. So your Secretary of State is Marco Rubio. And then, they'll never support women and all of this stuff and all of that. The Attorney General. Now, Matt Gaetz, was the for Attorney General, but he was the main reason, that where the Senate had issues, and it seemed like they threw him out there to kind of get him out the Senate because he was a and he was a hardliner when it comes to Trump. And the sitting House Speaker right now is in a position, and they have some issues, but we'll put that down the road. So just to stay on point and to stay on topic, when they talk about misogyny and, we won't support a woman, but the Trump's Attorney General, since Matt Gaetz has stepped out because of some accusations and some cases, Pam Bondi, a female. So out the gate, the Secretary of State, Latino, Marco Rubio, and then a female Attorney General by the name of Pam Bondi. Okay, Bondi was named by Trump as his pick for Attorney General after Gaetz withdrew his nomination for the role. Now, Bondi spent almost 20 years working as a prosecutor, like Harris, as a prosecutor in Hillsburg County, Florida, before becoming the first Attorney General of Florida in 2011. So she was the AG Florida. Okay. And she later worked on the Trump defense team during his trial. And clearly she did a great job because he did not get impeached. Okay. So let's go ahead and give a shout out, to, AG Bondi. Okay. Attorney General Pam Bondi. Good job for you. Now, Defense Secretary, and they all have to get confirmed. And this is the one that's going to be tricky a little bit because this, particular person, he's, somehow, some way they all bring, some allegations, on people. He's through a lot. Okay. Now, the Secretary of Defense Secretary, Pete Hegseth, Hegseth. Hegseth. I think the G is silent. Now, the author and former Fox News host and military veteran was another surprise pick for Trump in a key cabinet role due to his relative lack of experience. Okay, so he's not going with experience from the position of Secretary of State. He's going with, in terms of committed to the Trump movement in Project 2025 that we're going to continue to talk about down the road. Now, Hegseth, was commissioned as an infirmary officer in the Army National Guard, serving in Afghanistan and Iraq, and well as Guantanamo Bay. Okay, he has 2 Bronze Stars. Now, this is going to be tough for him to get through because the media has, depicted, him as a, male chauvinist. Okay, because this nomination has been dogged by, has dodged a 2017 sexual assault allegation, which he denied, and he was never charged. So if you were denied and never charged, then why is it a conversation? This is why we deal with what we say democracy, because democracy, they want to tear your character. I remember when Justice Kavanaugh, they brought some 16-year-old girl and said he did something. He didn't even, it is what it is. So the Treasury Secretary, is Scott Bessent. Bessent, the billionaire hedge manager, perfect person to be in a position because America is it's a country, but looks like they're going to be running it as a business because this America First movement, and then in terms of, turning America, make great again, this is the play. So he put a billionaire hedge fund manager founder and CEO of Key Square Group, has tapped to the lead treasurer and oversee the world's largest account. He previously defended Trump's import tariffs campaign promise. So when you talk about tariffs, this is the guy right here. Okay. And we can have a conversation about tariffs, because what tariffs do is force us to produce goods and services in America, since they're taxing, imports. Now, Scott is respected. Now, this is a good one. Scott is widely respected as one of the world's foremost international investors and geological and economic strategists, geopolitical and economic strategists. Now, Scott's story is that the American dream, Trump basically said in the statement. So big up the Treasury Secretary nominee, Scott Bessent. Okay. And I think that that's a good one. And here we go. You're talking about misogyny. We have another woman again. So the director of Homeland Security, Kristi Noem. Now, Trump said that the Dakota governor, the governor, that's a great pick. A governor will work closely with the border czar, not Kamala, but Tom Homan, to secure the border and guarantee that our American homeland is secure from our adversaries. Boom. Okay, Noem is a staunch Trump ally and was on his for the Trump's 2020-24 running mate. So he literally considered her running mate. And now she's a director of Homeland Security, and she's going to be working with the border czar to basically secure the border and guarantee that American homeland secure from our adversaries. Okay, not looking too bad. Now, Interior Secretary Doug Burgum. Now, Trump has chosen the governor of North Dakota. So we got the governor of South Dakota. We got the governor of North Dakota in the Interior Secretary, Doug Burgum. Okay, now Trump has chosen the governor of North Dakota to join his next administration as Secretary of Interior and chairman of the newly formed National Energy Council. So not just Trump being, doing things, out the box. They're creating organizations. And one thing that I do believe that they're going to create a land, but we're going to talk about that down the road, because we're going to participate, in this constitutional republic, and we're going to be, we the people. Okay, now Doug Burgum will protect our nation's natural resources, restore our fabulous oil and gas advantage, and make America and its energy dominant and great again, Trump said. So I can't give you any stock options, but go ahead and, along with your cryptocurrency, get a little diverse and go ahead and get some American energy, because Doug Burgum's job is to restore our fabulous oil and gas advantage and make America and its energy dominant and great again, Trump said. So this is part of the MAGA movement, and it is what it is. It is what it is. Let me see here. Now, the Secretary of Agriculture, another female, Brooke Rollins. Brooke Rollins, I believe that this is Trump's daughter-in-law, if I'm not mistaken. Now, Rollins' nomination was announced by Trump on Saturday. Now, she's the president and founder of America First Policy Institute, a think tank set up by former staffers from Trump presidency. Now, Rollins has served roles in the Trump administration, including director of Domestic Policy Council. Big up to her. Okay, now we got women, so he cannot be misogynistic. He cannot be misogynistic. Okay, let me see here. Secretary of Commerce. Okay, now that's Howard Lutnick. Trump said the billionaire GOP donor. Okay, this is like paying it back. Trump said the billionaire GOP would lead the administration's tariffs and trade agenda after nominating him to the role of Commerce Secretary. So in terms of those tariffs, he put a billionaire in a position to pretty much lead the administration on tariffs and the agenda. And all I'm saying is, in my mind, we're going to put together a scorecard and associate these selections with stocks. Okay, associate these selections with wealth. Okay, we got to follow the money. We're nonpartisan we're former Democrats. Okay, so now we're working our way up the working class, middle class. Let's get rich and get some wealth under the sitting president. And this is what it is. And the Democrats want you broke, busted, and it is what it is. So Secretary of Labor, a female again, Lori Chavez. Let me see here. Demure. Okay. Lori Chavez Demure. Okay. The Oregon Congresswoman was named to Trump for the next Secretary of Labor after she lost her seat in the November 5th election to Democrat State Representative Janelle Bynum. Okay, so she was already a congresswoman seat. So now she's going to be Secretary of Labor. So listen, that's a good thing. You're out of politics. The next thing you know, you probably in a position that, senators will walk away from. Clearly, these governors are walking away, and walking away from their position to basically join Trump's cabinet. And it is what it is. Okay, Lori has worked tirelessly for both business and labor to build America's workplace and support the hardworking men and women of America. Statement, it is what it is. Now, Health and Human Service Secretary Robert F. Kennedy. Okay, Robert F. Kennedy. Now, let me see here. Another contentious pick from the Trump administration is is a vaccine skeptic and to lead the Department of Health and Human Services. Wow. Okay, Robert F. Kennedy. So they had to find a position for him, okay, because once he tapped out and pretty much endorsed President Trump, a lot of people think that had a lot to do with him winning some of those swing states. And it did. Now, let me see here. The president-elect wrote on his Truth Social post that Kennedy will restore the HHS to traditions of gold standard scientific research and beacons of transparency to end the chronic disease epidemic and to make America great and healthy again. Now, once again, I mentioned this already. Now, Kennedy ran for president as an independent, but dropped out of the race in August and later endorsed Trump. So it is what it is. Now, Housing of Urban Development Secretary, HUD. Now, not misogynistic. He got, many women on his cabinet, but he got a brother, okay? This brother right here. So can you say he's racist? Okay. Because Housing and Urban Development Secretary Scott Turner. Okay. Now, Scott Turner is a former Texas representative who also spent 9 seasons in the NFL. Okay. He previously served as executive director of the White House Opportunity and Revitalization Council in the first Trump administration. So you mean to tell me we had no clue about the White House Opportunity and Revitalization Council in Trump's first administration, because we sitting back listening to liberal media, listening to these race baiters and these individuals who are pretty much trying to demonize a human being and make it seem as though he wasn't a part of the American people. So when you talk about the Black Plan, okay, I'll talk about this right after this. That has a lot to do with the Black Plan because there was a Black Plan in place under Trump's first administration. And now we dodged the bullet and got the Democratic Party out of, we've abandoned the party. The party is, is failing, dismantled as we speak. He previously served as executive director of the White House Opportunity and Revitalization Council in Trump's first administration. Turner also was the first Black selected to be a member of Trump's cabinet. So is he racist? He got a brother in there. Okay, let's keep going. We're going to talk about the brother in a minute. Now, Secretary of Transportation. Now, Pete Buttigieg is the director of transportation. And now Trump's going to replace him with Sean Duffy. Okay, Duffy is a former Wisconsin congressman and host on Fox Business. Now, on Fox Business, a show called The Bottom Line. Now, he this role at the news network after he tapped by Trump to lead the Department of Transportation, reported by CNN. Now, Trump said Duffy will prioritize excellence, competence, competitiveness, and beauty when rebuilding America's highways, tunnels, bridges, airports in his cabinet role. So the Secretary of Transportation goes to Sean Duffy, and he will be replacing, Pete Buttigieg. Okay. Now, the Secretary of Education. Now, this was a controversial. Okay, because on the campaign trail, Trump talked about ending the Department of Education. But apparently he's not going to do that because he selected Secretary of Education, and that's Linda McMahon. McMahon is a former CEO of the World Wrestling Entertainment who co-chairs transition team. Okay, she was with the WWE. Okay, and Vince McMahon. So is that his sister or his wife? But Trump and McMahon and the McMahon family, have relationships because before he became a politician, he was an avid fan, and he, would be a part of the WrestleMania and all of that. And I believe he got in the ring before. Now, her pick to lead the Department of Education has been scrutinized because of her perceived lack of necessary experience. McMahon was named in a lawsuit. She and her husband, Vince McMahon, allowed boys to be sexually abused by WWE ringside announcer who died in 2012. Now, the McMahon denied all the wrongdoings. Now, McMahon led the Small Business Administration during his first presidency. And that's another thing I didn't know. I'm going to go ahead and write that down. That's another thing I didn't know. She led Trump's Small Business Administration during Trump's first presidency. So now we're getting a chance as nonpartisan independents, and we're going to respect, the party that's running the country, and we're going to work with them to fight equities in our communities with people that look like me and you. Okay, so finally, we got presidential oversight coming on the way. We're going to hold it accountable to its campaign strategies and promises, and we're going to fight for the equities of our community, not the equities of inclusion and the equity of your gender, them, they, and all those pronouns. And that stuff is over. And at birth, you're a male or you're a female. That's okay. And Trump said he's going to sign that as an executive order. So just deal with it. Okay. Now, the Secretary of Energy. Okay. We do not have a picture of him, and that's Chris Wright. Trump nominated Wright to join his administration, both United States Secretary of Energy and a member of the newly formed Council of National Energy. And that's newly formed. And I'm taking notes for the newly formed because we're going to newly form an organization for this coalition of 13.6 million nonpartisan swing voters. Okay, because if you could tap into our coalition, clearly you could win the presidency because Biden tapped into it in 2020, but 13.6 million decided not to support the Harris campaign. So they're going to have to, get at us. This is why we got to have these conversations and fight for what's right for the human beings of America. Now, the Secretary of Veteran Affairs goes to Collins. Now, Collins is a former Georgia congressman and military veteran who served in Iraq. He currently serves as a chaplain in the United States Air Force Reserve Command. Now, Doug will be a great advocate to our active duty members, veterans, and military families. Sure, they have the support they need, Trump said. Okay. Now, Director of Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard. Okay. There's no way this man could be misogynistic. Okay. No way. He can't even be racist anymore because he got a black plan and he rely on the constituents. He got to rely on the grassroots, and he got to rely on nonpartisan, independent people of color and who happen to be in our class to fight for the rights of the people. Okay. Now, the Director of National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard. Gabbard is a former Democrat who ran for president in 2020. The 4-term Hawaii Congresswoman is a veteran deployments to war zones in the Middle East and Africa. Her nomination serves as the Director of National Intelligence have been criticized over allegations that she has helped spread Russian propaganda. Okay. The Environmental Protection Agency Administrator goes to Lee Zeldin. Lee Zeldin is a former New York congressman who lost the 2022, that name sounded familiar, the 2022 governor's race to Kathy Hochul. Okay. In a statement, Zeldin said, it will be an honor to join cabinet as EPA administrator. And EPA is an acronym for Environmental Protection Agency Administrator. We were U.S. energy dominance, and it's falling right in line with that Project 2025. It says, tap into America's resources to reduce energy prices. And right now he's saying the same talking points. We will restore energy dominance, revitalize our auto industry, and bring back American jobs, and make the U.S. The global leader of AI, which is artificial intelligence. We will do so while protecting access to clean water. okay, to clean air and water. And here go another field. United States UN ambassador is Elise Stefanik. Okay, Elise Stefanik, and I know she's a hardliner out of New York. The New York Congresswoman served on the House Armed Services Committee and the House Select Committee on intelligence. Now, she's a staunch defender of the Trump and was said to be among the short-lived as vice president pick. Now, Stefanik previously served as White House domestic policy advisor under George W. Bush. So nobody's talking about her experience. So she, her resume lines up. Now, Office of Management and Budget Director Russ Vought. Vought previously served as Trump's cabinet as director of the Office of Management and Budget, in line for the same role again. Now, Vought has heavily involved in crafting Project 2025 associated with the Harris Fund, the 922-page document outlining how a potential Republican administration could overhaul the federal government. So we're going to focus on him because I'm waiting on my book, 922-page document, and this is one of those situations, if you beat them, join them. And this is another situation when it says, keep your friends close. And right now, keep your enemies even closer. Okay, now CIA director, okay, John Ratcliffe. Trump choosing John Ratcliffe to serve as CIA director in his new administration was seen as one of the most straightforward nominations. Now, Ratcliffe served as director of national intelligence for the final month of Trump's administration, for the first office after he got rid of firing everybody. The former congressman was also heavily critical of investigations and alleged interference on the behalf of Trump's 2016 presidential election. Okay, big up to him. And United States ambassador to NATO. And Trump always be saying we need to get up out of NATO. But he selected for the ambassador to NATO, Matthew Whitaker. Now, Whitaker served as acting attorney general during Trump's first term, as well as attorney general in Iowa. He took on the role acting attorney general after Trump fired Jeff Sessions in 2018. He was eventually replaced by William Barr in February of 2019. Now, Matt is a strong warrior and loyal patriot who will ensure the United States interests and advance to our interests and advance our defended Trumps. Let me see here. Is that a typo? That's clearly a typo. Now, Matt will strengthen relationships with our NATO. So when they talk about getting rid of NATO, Matt will strengthen relationships with our NATO allies. Okay, because I've been hearing that Trump wanted to get out of NATO, which wasn't a good deal, but the Democrats were saying that. But now he selected Matthew Whitaker, and he's basically said in a quote, Matt will strengthen relationships with our NATO allies, stand firm in the face of threats to peace and stability. He will put America first. And those are the type of individuals we need. Those that will put America first. Now, Surgeon General, Dr. Jeanette Nashewit. Okay. I know I botched her name. I got to probably Google that. But she is a family medicine doctor, a former news contributor, Fox News contributor who has been tapped to be Trump's next general. Now, Dr. Jeanette is a fierce advocate and a strong communicator in medicine and public health, Trump said in a statement. Now, she is committed to ensuring that America has access to affordable, quality health care and believes in empowering individuals to take charge of their health to live longer, healthier lives. Okay, and this is Dr. Fauci spot. Director of Center of Disease Control and Prevention, and that's Dave Weldon. Now, Weldon is a medical doctor and a former Florida congressman. He has previously been a critic of the Centers for Disease Control Prevention, including the vaccine program. Now, Trump said in a statement, Weldon would restore the CDC to its true purpose as director. Okay, FDA Commissioner Marty Makary. Marty Makary will be the FDA administrator. And it's weird that Food, Drug, and Administration, why does Food and Drug have an administration while they're associated together? That's crazy. So Makary is a Johns Hopkins surgeon who will work under nominated Health Secretary Kennedy in his role of the leading of the Food and Drug Administration next year. In 2021, McCreary wrote his opinion attacking the FDA for pausing the rollout of the Johnson & Johnson COVID-19 vaccines, a mere concern over rare blood clots. Okay, and that's accountability. Okay, from the start of the COVID pandemic, the FDA has missteps, he wrote. We need better medical leadership. And I agree with them on that. Okay. Now, here's Dr. Oz. Now, the Centers of Medicine and Medicaid Services Administrator, Dr. Mehmet Oz. Now, Mehmet Oz, another television personality that Trump has picked for the role for his next cabinet. Now, Oz is best known for the Dr. Oz show, which ran from 2009 all the way up to 2022. He was unsuccessful. He ran an unsuccessful campaign for Pennsylvania Senate seat. He lost to John Fetterman. Okay, so we got Dr. Oz in the business, and I'm pretty much going to stop right there. But let me see here, other Trump White House roles. Let me run through the short list since we are here. Okay, and let me Trump White House roles. White House Chief of Staff Susie Wiles. Okay, White House Communications Director Stephen Chung. Okay, White House Press Secretary Caroline Levitt. Borders are Tom Homan, Director of Government Efficiency, Elon Musk, and Vivek Ramaswamy. Okay, so Department of Government Efficiency goes to Elon Musk and Vivek Swamy. And the reason Vivek Swamy is in that position because it literally goes to him to put Elon Musk on because, clearly he helped Trump win the way that he did win. Now, National Security Advisor is Michael Waltz. That's Waltz. White House Counsel is William McGinley. Okay, Solicitor General Dean John Sawyer. Federal Communications, Federal Communications Commission Chairman is Brenda Carr. Deputy Assistant to the President and Senior Director of Counterterrorism, Sebastian Gorka. United States Ambassador to Israel, Mike Huckabee. United Ambassador to Canada is Pete Hoekstra. Okay, United States Attorney and Southern District of New York, Jay Clayton. Deputy Chief of Staff, Dan Savino. Deputy Chief of Staff Policy and Homeland Security Advisor Stephen Miller, Deputy Chief of Staff of Legislative, Political, and Public Affairs James Blair, and last but not least, Deputy of Staff Communications and Personnel, and that's Taylor Bondwich. Okay, and that's Trump's candidate. Man, we did it. So, with all that being said, I can pretty much close out. But I know a lot of you are over here right now because you want to hear Trump's Black Plan for America. Okay, and I aforementioned about, going to these think tanks and having these conversations and, talking to, whites and, people of color and people in all of that. So I want y'all to understand that, like, we as a people, we pretty much dodged the bullet with the Democratic Party. And now that we get an opportunity to do what's right by the people, and we can actually use the Constitution to do so. So as a black man, make African-American black again. The joke was on white America. The joke was on the liberals. They took African-American and went on with it. But the black community has stepped up, and we're going to operate as an independent black body. And that independent black body does represent the working class and the middle class, because by default, we pretty much dominate the working class and the middle class. So anything that we do will help all working class and middle class, and that includes whites, Latinos, everybody. That's why black is an acronym for Black, Latin, Asian, Caucasian, Kinsman. So Trump's Black Plan for Black America. Okay. And we're going to hold him accountable, and we're going to make sure, that we, do presidential oversight as an independent body. because if we were Democrats, they wouldn't take us seriously. The Democrats will drown us out, because if you look at any liberal situation, they attach themselves to the civil rights movement, to the Black Lives Matters movement, all that, just for their survival. Okay. So now that we've delivered ourselves and we can work for the American people, and we're going to be fighting for the slice of the pie for here in Black America. So Trump's plan for Black America, and we're seeking an executive action or executive order on this. We don't want it to go through the act of Congress. We want this basically, be signed as executive action day one. Okay. And working class. This is for the working class. Okay. And we're going to hold him accountable for his campaign promises. He had of them. Number one, he said no tax on tips. So for the working class, if you are a waitress, okay, you don't have to pay no taxes on your tips. Know that your tips mean a lot. So we're going to go to bat for you and make sure that he signs that into law. Okay, no tax on tips. For you dancers, especially, you pole dancers, in the South, Atlanta, Las Vegas, no tax on, no tax on tips. That help you out a great deal. Number two, for the working class, Trump's plan by default. Okay, the working class and the middle class. And I say by default, I have a lot of white friends, and I've been to the think tanks, and they try to convince me, it's not about race, it's about class. Look, we're neighbors. I live in your community. I'm saying by default, okay, you live in our community. This is a community that you moved into because you've, thought the gentrification was going to move fast in the community. So since you are in the Black community, you have to sit back and roll us. Okay, because if you could be in a different community or different tax, you would. But since by default, you're here with us, so therefore you have to ride on the bus with us because we're driving. Okay, so by default. So Trump's number two Black plan, and it's for the working class. It benefit every Black person on the planet, and it will benefit every white person who happen to be in a class with Blacks. Okay, number two, taxes on overtime. No taxes on overtime. Campaign promise. No tax on tips. No tax on overtime. Campaign promise. And that will be supported by every working class, every middle class individual that has a wage earning job will benefit from that. Okay. If you are, this is why the American Steel organizations, the Teamsters, the unions, the longshoremen, the police departments, the fire department. This is why they support it. And we're going to make sure that he signs this into law. And last but not least, they've been talking and having conversations and lying to us. So now that we have these conversations, we went through his cabinet, we're starting to indulge ourselves in Project 2025. And it seems that, we've been lied to by the liberals, because the liberals want to, more government and government control and an open border and poverty and welfare and all of that stuff. But now that we have delivered ourselves and created the strongest coalition ever, in a sense of 13.6 million, individuals that support this movement, now we can fight for the working class and the middle class, because it's bottom up. A tree grows up. If you are a working class individual, the next step is middle class, and the next step is rich. And after rich is wealthy. Trees grow up. They don't come down. Okay. But the Democratic Party seems that they want us to, eat their crumbs, but not even sitting at the table with you anymore, because we don't deal with losers. Okay. So now that we're nonpartisan independents, we've developed, a coalition stronger than ever, in the sum of 13.6 million. And then we're going to push and provide oversight, presidential oversight, as well as accountability. And we're going to make sure that these campaign promises are fruition, because we're not hiding or sitting behind the Congressional Black Caucus or the Democratic Party. We're going to pretty much do it ourselves. So this is the best one. They talked about Social Security being taken away by the Trump administration. And that was, to me, that's like one of the biggest lies, because they lie to you. They fearmonger, and they tell all these lies to just confuse you. Okay, that's not going to happen. But as a campaign promise, I mentioned, what he's going to do for Black Americans and white Americans who happen to be in a class of Blacks. Okay. No tax on those tips. So that waitress, get your paper. That dancer, pole dancer, get your exotic dancer, get your paper, girl. Okay. Number two, no tax on overtime. So if you are a wage earning employee, you know without a shadow of a doubt, when you do overtime, they tax you at a different tax bracket and they take all your bread. Okay. And if you don't have children or write-offs and anything like that, you barely get any of that back at tax time. You even might owe. Okay. So no tax on overtime is a direct impact for the working class, for the middle class, and a direct impact and a campaign promise that Trump has promised, and it is embedded in the Black Plan. Trump administration's Black Plan. Okay. Now, this is the best one. Now, if you are a SSI, Social Security Insurance recipient, the Democrats been lying to you, talking about Project 2025 is going to end Social Security and all of that. That is a bald-faced lie. But if you are a Social Security Insurance recipient, okay, now if you happen to be by default, in a Black community associated with Black people, by default, okay, it's class for you. But for all Black individuals that have worked hard, 25, 30, 40 years on a job, and now you are a SSI, you're getting your Social Security and you're struggling, the Trump administration has a Black plan for you. And it came on the campaign trail as a campaign promise. So make sure you pray for your sons and your daughters, and support our movement to make sure that that comes into fruition. Because if you receive Social Security, you get Social Security twice a month. And I believe it's the 1st and the 15th. Okay. So under Trump's Black Plan for Black America, no tax on Social Security will give you a 40% increase on your bottom line monthly. Think about that. Wow. So Trump is going to give you 40% more of your money. Think about that. Oh, he's supposed to end the world. Trump is the worst thing for America. Trump is the worst thing for our democracy. No, he was a threat to their democracy because their democracy does not exist. Their democracy is over. So Trump's campaign promise to baby boomers, SSI recipients, Social Security insurance recipients, you will get a 40% increase. You're taxed at 20% twice a month. 20 plus 20 is 40. So each check, you get a 20% advance from the Trump administration. So if you just go ahead and put that, basically, on a, biweekly, twice a month, then that means you're going to get a 40% increase on the bottom line. And that's fact. And the only way that this won't be a lie, if that the American citizens, along with Black America, along with white Americans, become nonpartisan independents and make sure that this campaign promise comes into fruition. Because go ahead and do your due diligence. Go ahead and, I've done the research. I'm not going to put this out there, and just to be saying it. Okay. And the only negative things that I saw about no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, no tax on Social Security was the federal government pretty much going against it because it'll hurt them. But we will figure it out because the solution is consumption. Consumption. The more money you have, the more money you spend. So this is what we call the pain of change. Okay. The pain of change. Change is real. Okay. And I'm not talking about the change Obama talked about. Change your son to a girl and your boy to a girl and create all the alphabets to a certain particular community when we're all human beings. I'm talking about real change. Okay. And as an individual, it's okay to look out for yourself because number one, God got you. And number two, your community got you as well. Because we, for the first time in our lifetime, do not have to listen to, the Congressional Black Caucus, to, our elected officials who pretty much are hired guns for people we don't see, because Harris said it herself, without a shadow of a doubt, it's all, there's voters and their check writers. Those are the people that they're trying to, support. But in terms of Trump's black plan that will affect the black community, no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, no tax on Social Security. So you were sitting back being scared, and you went in that box and you voted for Harris because, you guilty by association, because you were forced to support the party of Jim Crow, the party of slavery, the party of Jim Crow, and the party of mass incarceration. And you went on in there and voted for Harris. And then all of the things that they said about Trump and his administration, now his administration is going to get you a 40% on your bottom line on a monthly basis. And all I got to say is you're welcome. Okay? Because Trump has a black plan for black America. And by default, white Americans happen to just be in the class of blacks. Okay? Because if you live in South Central LA, if you live in Inglewood, if you got black and all that, you are in our community. And by default, okay, you are with us. So you don't speak for us. We speak for you. Okay. We let you come in. So now just go ahead and sit back and watch them in. Okay. Because African American, we got to figure out what that is. Because I've never been to Africa. Okay. How can you two continents? Okay. But the joke was on them, because we are black Americans and our race is our grace. Okay. Our race trumps our ethnicity. Our race trumps our sexual our sexual preference. Our race trumps anything, because the black community, it's time to thrive and it's time to build. Okay. Because they're waiting on us. So now that we dodged the bullet, now that we've delivered ourselves from this burning house, this Democratic house that, Dr. King told us and warned us about, now it's our opportunity to move forward and do the will of God and work with the people. Okay. And that's going to be to provide presidential oversight, hold the president accountable, enforce and make sure that we get our slice of the pie and we get what we need. And it is what it is. So I appreciate y'all. Hit that like, hit that notification. I see the comments, man. You guys are pretty much, going in. Strengths. I can't get into that because, just hit the notification, because some days I pretty much just focus on the comments. But today I had to flesh this out because it's time for, black African American to be black again. It's time for us to work for the community. It's time to build our neighborhoods and our barrios and create them and make them communities now. Let's start to recycle our own dollars. So our white friends and compadres that's in the community with us by default, it's not about class for us. It's class for you, because you got to live in Inglewood and South Central. You can't live in Brentwood and Culver City, Manhattan Beach, Redondo Beach, Hermosa Beach, Marina Del Rey. You got to live hood with us. And you want to talk about class, but for us, this is the black community. It was and it always will be. So we're going to fight for our people, and by default, you will be beneficiaries of that, because there's white people on SSI, Social Security. There's white people that work hard, just like everybody's from the working class and middle class. And then there's white waitresses, in your bars, in Denny's and all of that. Okay. And there's white pole dancers. Okay. But the black America will hold the sitting president accountable. And we're going to make sure we get this this legislation signed as an executive order. No tax on tips, no tax on overtime, and no tax on SSI. So all you baby boomers and people on Social Security or SSI, get ready, because you're about to get a 40% increase on your bottom line. And be honest and thank that Donald Trump administration for doing it. This is your man, Bushan Glover. And like I said, I got one. Let's make African Americans black again. Absolutely. Because, African American is an ethnicity. Black is a race. Our race is our grace. And African American was a sacrificial lamb. So you could be with the ACLU and put them in the pot of the alphabet crew. But our blackness and our race and our heritage, pretty much stand strong, because black power was a thing. We was black and we was proud. But somehow the Democratic Party busted us up, locked up the men. You got Puffy in jail right now as a political prisoner. And then they created mass incarceration because the party of slavery, the party of Jim Crow, the party of mass incarceration, their only survival tactics is to eat and thrive and sacrifice black men. And finally, we delivered ourselves. And now we going back to God. And anybody that want to roll with us, roll with us. That's why BLACK is an acronym for Black, Latin, Caucasian kinship. So with that being said, man, hit that like, hit that subscription, because we going up. And tomorrow I will be in the comments having a, orthodox conversation with the people to build the channel. But today I needed to flesh this out. With that being said, y'all have an amazing day. This your man, Bushan Glover. And hey, let's do it. Have a great day. Peace out. Better Black America TV. Thanks for tuning in. Peace out.